Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, Dee Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.
I'm your host, Dee Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Networks International. At the beginning, I want you to like, subscribe, share. We got a show for most of you today. You know I'm treading on those sacred cows. At the beginning, I want you to go to our social media sites so that you know everything that we're doing. On Instagram, it's Wake Up Global Media, Wake Up Global Media. On X, it's WGNINC. On TikTok, it's The Voiceover Pod. And on Facebook, it's Wake Up Global Networks. I want to say thank you for joining us. All shout out to the replay crew. You know I got mad love for the replay crew. However you reach us if you and when you can. Have you seen our Sunday morning show? That's right, The Voice of Hope. The Voice of Hope Connection every Sunday at 7 a.m. It uploads live. And of course, you can be a part of the replay crew. It's just a word to get us through the week. A simple word to get us through the week. Last week, I just said, just because you don't hear a lot of noise from God, you don't hear a lot of movement, thunder and lightning, doesn't mean God is not moving. God moves in silence. Go check that out. And then every Wednesday, yesterday, 2 days ago, did you get that? Did you get that? See, I'm back in the saddle. We done gave homage to my big brother, James Butch McAdams. Now I'm back with the content. Every Wednesday, 12 noon, the live upload of the Voice Over Today audio podcast. The Voice Over Today audio podcast. I want to say thank you. And we get into it again today. Make sure you like, share, follow. Shout out to April J., CEO and owner of WPBMediaNetworks.com, who is so gracious to allow us on this wonderful platform. Make sure you support. It's August already. Wow, August. It has been hot. It's been humid. It's been one of those summers, but we're trudging. I heard somebody say the other day, 200 some days before Christmas. It seems like it's less than that, but I don't know. I ain't counting because I'm too very busy. Again, our email can be reached at thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. I love to hear from you. Leave your comments in the comment section here, and we'll make sure that we get them. Now, let's get into some things. Now, I want to give a disclaimer. I ain't hating. I ain't trying to pull a black woman down. I'm not coming after nobody. I ain't mad. I'm just calling it like it is. Today's discussion, and I want you to think. You know, I always tell you, I'm not here to tell you how to think. I just want you to think. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Like when I did I Won't Denounce. I didn't tell you what to do. I just put all the evidence. That's what we do. I am not a reactionary, for the most part, podcast. I do my own investigative study. So it's not that I've heard this from somebody or I'm just, a lot of people, their show is just, they hear it in the wind and then they just pick it up and they repeat it. You ain't got that here. We do our own investigative study, coming up with our own analysis, our own opinion, and then it's up to you to believe it, not to believe it, do it or not do it. All my job is to put the evidence out. If you love education, inspiration, and if you love critical thinking, you are at the right place. Have no place or tolerance for the foolery, tomfoolery. Shout out to all of those of you that are a follower. Make sure you share this in your contacts. Like, subscribe, share, follow. Now, today's topic, missing in plain sight. Not just a call, but we need a call to action. Now, I have to admit, at first I wasn't going to discuss this topic, and I'm going to kind of start from the end and come to the beginning, right? So follow me today. Because this particular topic is very heartbreaking. It's sad. Unfortunately, it's very common in our community. And in my opinion, far too little talked about. That's why I decided not to talk about it. I mean, I wanted to do something cheerful. I wanted to do something up. I want to do something bubbly, but my job is to bring the issues, to raise my voice and bring the issues to the forefront, the imperative, important issues, especially those issues that affect our community. And so I wanted to talk about this because I think it's in the shadow. I think it's in the background. I think it's too far in the background. So what I decided to do this week is to use my voice and to use my platform, thank God for one, to bring much needed attention to the subject at hand, but moreover, much needed overdue action. Now, allow me to say at the beginning of this show that I am fully aware that of the season that we are in this country. I am fully aware that the season that we are in, matter of fact, in the world, we are in number one of the most divisive presidential elections probably in history. Number two, I'm aware what's going on in Paris, that there's the 2024 Olympics. Number three, I'm aware that there are wars on many fronts. Number four, I'm aware that there are presidential visits to America, to the White House, Netanyahu, ECT. I'm aware of all that. So before I get in my content and you say, oh, you're trying to spoil a moment, I am aware of all of that. But in my opinion, like this, share this, subscribe. In my opinion, if we still don't get in this country that it's about people and services to humanity above all the above mentioned, presidential elections, Olympics, wars, presidential, if we don't understand that it's about people and service to humanity, guess what? The above mentioned means little to nothing to most of us. Have your elections, have your Olympics, have your presidential visits, but in the trenches, there are issues that still need to be addressed. Go to Martha's Vineyard, Mayor. Support the president. Go politics. I understand all of that. I understand all of that. Stand by. Keep people at the keeper. I understand all. But in the trenches, and that's my assignment, to use my voice and my platform to address what's not being addressed. That in the trenches, there are still people that are hurting. And in my opinion, and I told you I'm working from the back. You say, what are you talking about? Hold up, because I got to set the premise. I got to set the premise of how important what I'm talking about. Because if I just jumped into the subject, you're like, oh, there, you know. But no, I'm setting the premise of how important what I'm talking about should be on all of our agendas. That if humanity and people are not the main agenda, then all of the above things I mentioned that were going on in this country mean little or nothing to us, in my opinion. I'm concerned that there's no national outcry. National, what I mean national, no presidential outcry, no vice presidential outcry, no divine nine outcry. You know, I just spent 4 weeks supporting their cause or laying the evidence out. But now I got to call them out. Places of faith are not crying out. What do I mean? Saying stop everything. We're not participating in the Olympics. We don't want no foreign presidential visits. We got stuff on the home front that we got to take care of because enough is enough. And I'm relating to the situation that happened on July the 6th, the murder of Sonya Massey, the black woman who was fatally shot by a white sheriff's deputy early this month. Now you will say, well, they showed it on the news. Yeah, you will say they had a press conference. You will say there are scattered protests. I said, no, you missed that. The national outcry. You know the kind of rallies that I've seen over the last 2 weeks since Kamala Harris has announced that she's the president. It's been a national rally, not sparked here, sparked there. There have been sororities, fraternities, even Roland Martin, which I'll get into in a minute, gathering together to synergize. I'm not getting into the politics of it. I'm making a point. So I know what a national outcry or a national synergetic move is. This ain't had no synergetic move. It's had an honorable mention, and that's it. And nobody hardly is using their platform to say enough is enough. So let me give you the backdrop. Then I'm going to tell you what I believe needs to happen in just a few minutes. Sonya Massey was fatally shot by a white sheriff's deputy early this month. Most people don't even know that. They hardly know it. And she was killed by a bullet that struck right under, her left eye. Now, the reason I'm doing this story is because to me it sounds too familiar, but little don't at the same time. It happened when America was celebrating. This is my issue. Celebrating, watch this, the hypocrisy, the rise, and it's not about Kamala Harris, but I'm going to use her as I always do, a benchmark, an example. The rise of a black woman finally going into office with the opportunity to be the president of the free world. What a history-making event. Watch this. Not the rise of a woman, the rise of a black. That's all I've been hearing from the Divine Nine. This is our sorrow. This is our sister. This is this group endorsing, and that African American group, which is fine. I'm making my point. Share this, like this, follow this. But at the same time, almost synonymously, at the same time, we're celebrating a historical black woman's run for president. With all due respect, let's honor and celebrate all of our black queens by taking a stand, not only for Kamala Harris as president. I'm not even dealing with that in this show. I'll deal with it, but not in this show. But Breonna Taylor, say her name. Sandra Bland. And that's just to name a few. Now, Sonya Massey, because obviously our voices through those traumas have not been as loud as the voices that say Kamala for president. I told you, like it. This is Friday. Straight, no chaser. That's what you get here. All right. Now I ain't knocking the facts you run. I'm making a point. Why is one voice on one situation celebrating a black woman's rise to the national office of president louder than the voice of those who are standing and calling for an outcry for a black woman who was needlessly slain in the streets or in her house? Huh? Why? That's what I got an issue with. I mean, if we're gonna celebrate black greatness, let's do it from the White House to the streets, to the penthouse, to the street house, to the crack. Let's celebrate great blackness don't have your picks and your chooses. That's all I'm saying. Like this, share this, subscribe, follow. I ain't trying to throw water on nobody's beret. I'm raising an issue that I feel has been neglected. That's what this podcast is all about. So from my understanding, people are put in power to be the voice of the voices. That's why we elect people, to represent us, not for them to shine because of their race, because of their gender. I mean, we don't ignore that, but that's not why we don't promote gender. We don't promote race when it comes to public affairs, or we should not. We should promote people who will use their voice and their platform to represent the masses. Now, I know what everybody will say, because I already picked it out. I already know how we operate. I already know how we block when ain't no ball even being thrown. I know how we get defensive. I know how we take things personal. I'm not new to it. I'm true to it. I've been around. I've been in media. So from my understanding, people are put in power to be a voice. Now, I know that the first thing people will say is, although she is black, she's everybody's president, and she can't be found guilty of champion black causes. That's what some people say. She's everybody's president. Well, make that across the board. Then make her campaign less about her gender and her race, and do it on her. You don't want to do it on her record, but anyway, that's whole. Do it on her record if you want to. Do it on her history. Do it on her works. You don't want to do it on her works. So, but you can't say when it's convenient, she's everybody's president. She can't be guilty of champion black causes when she's being promoted as a black woman, and a woman at that. Come on. You know, I've always said on this podcast, no matter what subject I was addressing, you have to be consistent across the board, or else that's called hypocrisy. Right? So, while race and gender are being jammed down our throat as the reason, I get that. I get it. But there's a mother that's just as important that's dead. There is a daughter whose mother is weeping. There is I believe, 18-year-old son, Malachi, who just as important as Kamala's race for the White House. And what I'm saying is the outcry is missing in action. And there is no call to act. Now, some of you will say, well, there were calls made. Yes, President Joe Biden called. He called. Kamala Harris called and left a heartfelt message. I get it. But to me, that still does not take the place of an outcry from a woman who has been marketed as the proper person to be the president because her gender, female, and her race, African American, has been marketed. Ask Roland Martin, who put out a call for all black men for Harris, right? Wanted all black men to come, black men. So don't tell me race is not involved. Yet Miss Massey was black. Is Miss Massey less important than an election? I thought people were elected to serve. So what are you saying, DeFoster? They called. What do you expect? DeFoster, the president, called. Yes, they're in their thoughts in press. What do you expect? I expect an outcry. This is, and I'm not going into Devontae. I'm not talking about the males. I'm just talking about our queens, since we are in the season of celebrating queens, right? Black greatness, black female greatness, right? We are. So let's don't be picky about who we celebrate, because maybe you're different. though she is everybody's president. Right? I agree. I got you. And though she is female, I agree. I got you. But she is black. I got you. I do expect her to take up some black African American causes. Everybody else doesn't. Every other nationality does. But when it comes to us, I'm just saying, like this, share this. I know, happy hour, straight. I should have called this podcast the happy hour. Straight no chaser. Off the rocks. If you can handle it. For those who may not have a clue what I'm talking about, here we go again. And I'm almost finished. Here we go again. July 6th, and I'm reading excerpts from the USA Today, but I've checked out several sources and they pretty much all say the same. Now, thankfully, the police has been arrested. He has been indicted. He has been held without bond. That's progress. Because in the past, we dealt with this immunity. We dealt with waiting for the arrest. We dealt with administrative duties until then further. So I got to give credit where credit is due, but the body camera didn't lie. And interesting enough, the guilty officer turned his body camera on late. So I'm going somewhere. Like this, share this, subscribe, and I'm almost finished. This is not going to be 2 parts. So, Sangamon County Sheriff in Illinois, where Sonia Massey lived, Deputy Sean P. Grayson shot her while responding to her call about a possible intruder. Grayson is charged with Massey's murder and pleaded not guilty. Now, I must say, for fair reporting and fair journalism, though this has no bearing on my position on this podcast, that it is alleged that Miss Massey had been getting treatment for some mental health issues. That's one of the things I admired about then delegate, he's a senator now in Maryland, one of my brothers, Senator Charles Sydnor, when he presented a bill that when police were responding in Maryland to mentally ill calls, that there had to be accompanied by someone who especially dealt with mental health. But that's a whole nother subject. This is some of the reform, the national reform, I believe, that needs to be done. According to court documents, Grayson had not activated his body-worn camera until the shooting. That's problematic. That's very problematic. But the other responding deputy, who has not been named, thank God, he had his camera activated after arriving to the home, like it should have been. So the question is, why wasn't the camera activated? And is there a law and a penalty? See, this is some of the reform. I'm talking about I know we're celebrating the Olympics. I know we're in presidential elections. I know Netanyahu is this here, but I'm going to deal with stuff that's going on the home front. And what I believe the cause is that the next leaders of this country need to take up ASAP, right? So the video shows Grayson and the other deputies speaking calmly with Miss Massey outside her home after the 2 deputies searched the area outside. The 2 entered the residence and continued speaking with Massey, asking her for identification card. So she called them initially because she believed that there were prowlers around her house and that she was possibly being stalked. But again, I don't know if this is true, whether there were or whether they weren't, but I do know reportedly that she had been suffering with some mental health issues, but still that does not merit her to be murdered. And it does not merit the murderous camera to be turned off until the shooting happens. But thank God that there was another officer who went in the house with his camera on. Follow me, follow me. Now, I know you don't want to hear this. I know you rather hear about dun 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 dun, but you can't close your eyes. This is the voice over now. We use our voice to address critical issues. That's why we're here. I'm not here for entertainment. I'm not here for fun. We have fun, we entertain, we have a good time, but they're critical issues. And this is one I don't feel that's being dealt with in depth. Yes, it's being mentioned, but it's not being dealt with like we're dealing with it on the voiceover now. Share this, like this, subscribe to the channel. All right. So notice, so they entered the house, I'm reading from the USA Today, and continued speaking with Miss Massey, asking for her identification card. Grayson then noticed a pot of water, a pot of boiling water, and tells Massey to remove it to avoid starting a fire. According to the footage, the deputies distance themselves from her as she moves the pot. "Where are you going?" she asked them. She has the pot. I want you to get the setting, according to the USA Today. In other reports, where are you going? Away from your hot, she asked them. She asked the police, where are you going? They say, away from your hot, steaming water. Grayson says, while laughing before Massey responds, away from the hot, steaming water? Oh, now this is quoting reports, I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Again, there were some issues going on, right? Still doesn't merit being killed. Huh? Grayson says. Now this is problematic to me. As Massey repeats, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Now, if he understood that she already had emotional issues, why was he so offended at her statement? See, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of things that make you go, with this. His response is, right? You better F not, or I'll swear to God, I'll shoot you in the face. The deputy responds before drawing his firearm. So when she says, I rebuke you, I don't know whether it was fear, a demon rose up in him. That demon said, you call his name, right? I don't know what it was. But he got intimidated and threatened to shoot over the name of Jesus. What spirit did she aggravate? Just a thought. He draws his firearm, ducks and says, I'm sorry. That's what the video shows. Both deputies yell at her to drop the pot when 3 gunshots are heard in the video. Now, we don't know what happened in between there, but we know something happened, right? But whatever it is, and I think I read in one report that he was afraid that she was going to throw the pot of hot water and scald him. That's one of the reports. But obviously the grand jury didn't believe it because he was indicted. And I'm sure they're intermittent information. And I'm not dealing with this issue. I'm dealing with the lack of national outcry for this and others that have been happening. And while we are all caught up, this is going on. Right? So a few seconds later, the other deputy says, I'm going to get my kit. She's done. You can go get it, but that's a gunshot. Grayson responds. That's the one who fired the shot. Grayson, 30, who was fired by the department, worked for 5 different departments before coming aboard with the Sangamon County inmate 23. That's another issue. There has to be something put in place where we cannot just transfer officers with bad behavior. But there's, you know how they have a sex offenders list, an officer offender list. I'm telling you, these are the things. And so, for fair reporting, it has been reported that the current president, and I'm saying this, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have called and reached out. But in my opinion, that still doesn't go far enough. It doesn't go far enough. What about the calling for by them both, especially Kamala Harris, because this is a black woman, to call a day of action? She has the power, I don't care what you say, she has the power to draw national attention to this issue, bring about changes on the national front, period. She has the power. And to me, and I'll close, if she doesn't do something and become louder with this, to me, this is my personal opinion, she has failed the first test of what a real leader is. But I'm not saying go there every day. I'm not saying go down there and stand and sit in the family's house. But I'm saying missing in plain sight is an outcry that our queens keep dying. I know we're celebrating Kamala, her queenship, but there are many more queens. Brianna, Sandra, Sonia, that we need to celebrate and remember their legacy. Let's get a police registry so that these police can't be transferred from unit to unit in situations like this. Let's get the George Floyd bill going, Kamala, to bring better accountability on the national. I know what cities and states are doing. We need this done on a national platform. That's my opinion. Missing in plain sight is a call to action to demand that this foolishness stop and that we incorporate laws that will prohibit it. I'm going to be following this story. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Sunday morning, 7 a.m., The Voice of Hope Connection. Until next week, this is D. Foster III, President, CEO of Wake Up Global Networks International, reminding you that you have a voice. Let's stay connected to it. Peace.
Thank you for being a part of The Voiceover. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected to our upcoming shows and guests. Instagram at The Voiceover Radio. Twitter at DPropheticI. That's the letter D, prophetic, EYE. If this show has enriched you in any way, please share The Voiceover among your circle. Until next time,